do you think about the narrative that Trey Lance is going to help the Dallas Cowboys win by exposing the 49ers secrets? Yeah, can you explain that that's not how that works?
Yeah, I don't get that one. That one's a wild one to me. Like, Brian Hoyer's played the 49ers how many different times since he left? He hasn't exposed any secrets. Do I think Trey Lance might have an understanding of what they do on offense? Yeah, but I think Dan Quinn has that same understanding because he turns on the film and he's studying this offense. They're going to have a good idea of the Niners' tendencies, because not just because Trey Lance told them, because they're going to study up and be ready for this game. But just because you have an idea of what the team is going to do, and just because they have an idea of what you're going to do, does not mean that, holy cow, you're just going to now kick their butts. You have to get 11 people to execute in terms of stopping what they're doing. And the problem with the Niners offense as well is just because so much of it is built to look the same, and everything builds off of this. Like, okay, we're going to set you up by running this play, and now when you're looking for this play, we have this variation off of it that screws you. Okay, if they say, okay, this is what the Niners offense is looking for, and they run the variation, yeah, they're screwed.
Yeah, I agree. When I heard that narrative, I feel like players are traded every single day in the NFL, and if that's how that worked, I guess everyone would be beating each other.
Yeah, it's a good way to say it. And they would never trade anybody.
Yeah, because they'd be like, oh, this is so precious. We can't
like
the 49ers willingly traded Trey Lance to the Dallas Cowboys. So they were clearly not very worried about, one, his future success, which is crazy, but just because they're the ones that initially traded for him. But so they weren't very confident in that. And then they definitely weren't afraid of him exposing anything because they knew that they were going to face the Cowboys week 5. So I agree that I don't think that's a major concern. Although, I mean, I do think, like, I'm sure, because it was the Dallas offensive coordinator that came out. Like, this wasn't like a fan rumor. It was the Dallas offensive coordinator that came out and we're like, oh, we're going to utilize mind games. Which is interesting. Okay, have you heard, like, the way that Micah Parsons, the way that Jerry Jones earlier this week was like, yeah, I think the Niners might win the Super Bowl. Micah Parsons had tons of praise for how the 49ers have been playing, for Brock Purdy specifically, for the defense on his own. I think he does his own podcast. I saw clips of it on Twitter. But he was like praising the Niners, which is kind of ironic if you think back to like 2021 when he was first making comments. What did he say? He was like, the bullies are going to bully the bull, or we're going to bully the bullies. And I felt like he had a much more confident tone about him. And now I'm sure that he's still very confident, but it is interesting the way that he's going about approaching that sort of conversation compared to before. Have you even heard that? And do you think that, because you said mind games, do you think that sweet talking the 49ers does anything? Why would they be?
No, I don't think it makes a difference. I just think all of this gets greater publicity because week to week, everything that's said in Dallas media is put on a national scale. And I think we're just not used to that being done for a Niners opponent. But in any game, I think most people talk the exact same way Dallas has talked. I don't think it's just put on national TV for every single quote. That's all.
There we go. I just wanted to check to make sure we didn't have any more super chats because I saw little numbers on those. I agree that I don't think that the way that they talk super matters, but I do find it interesting. I think that has to be like, at least for Micah Parsons specifically, it has to be like a change in respect. Like, you know, they've been beaten by the 49ers. Okay, do you think, because I heard this too, like I heard if the Cowboys lose this week, then that will somehow like defeat them. And if we like defeat them mentally, and then if the 49ers were then going to face them in the playoffs, that it would just be like this impossible mental battle for the Cowboys to overcome. And when I heard that narrative, I thought about the Rams and how in the regular season, the 49ers have absolutely killed the Rams. And that did not crush their confidence in their ability to beat us. Although potentially if Debo would have gotten the ball in the last 13 minutes of that game, things would have been differently, but that is a problem to not bring up currently. Do you think that if the 49ers win this game that is going to mentally crush the Dallas Cowboys for a future playoff performance?
No. They have to show up and play the next time if they have to play. I think some of this stuff gets overdone a little bit because you have to sell the story of the game, and it's a good story when a team has to overcome the biggest, greatest of odds. That's why every single athlete ever has to overcome the greatest of odds, because that's the best story, David versus Goliath, right? Like, I mean, the Chiefs, if they win the Super Bowl this year, they were on paper Vegas favorites, and they'll come out and say, everybody doubted us this year. Nobody thought we would do it. They all do that little bullshit. And so,
Kelsey did that last year.
I think that a lot of this is just cheap talk.
Okay, interesting. Travis Kelce did do that last year. He was like, everyone doubted us. I was like, I think you guys were at the top of the odds to win.